So I thought I'd do a this or that video today. I actually got that from another YouTuber. I should give that person some credit. I don't call out YouTubers' names, my only problem. So I wanted to talk about several subjects today. One of the things that I never get a chance to do, or very rarely do, is make a canning video and then talk about the next day results. If you don't know this, when you are finished canning, you take everything out of the canners, you're supposed to let them sit for 24 hours before you even touch them to do anything. Well, as you know, I've been using these Tadler lids to can with. And I've been really trying really hard to get 100% success rate out of them. Now, 2 times ago, when I was canning pork, I did get a 100% success rate. So that was the first time I've gotten 100% out of anything when it came to Tadler lids. Now, you can use these metal lids, but it really runs up your cost. We have 2 canners, so that's 20 pint jars that we can can. We bought metal lids at Dollar General, which was about the cheapest I could find. It was, I'm sure somebody's gonna say, oh no, you can find them here for cheap. It was $3 and some odd cents for 12 of them. So you figure you're gonna have to dip into at least a second package. So you're talking almost $6, maybe even $6 to can 20 jars of chicken. Now the chicken, Carolyn just found out, we're gonna go tomorrow and pick up some more chicken. It's $5.99 a bag. It's 10-pound bag, so it's 59 cents a pound. So we're gonna go and get some more and probably can those, I don't know, maybe Tuesday. This is, I think, Thursday. So when you're spending $15, $16 on chicken, which is really cheap, you don't want to add $6 to that just so you can can it. So I've been trying to get the Tadler lids to work. Even though I've not had a 100% success rate until the 2 times ago, it's still saving me a ton of money. I have options available to me. I can always recan the food. It's not like the food's gonna go to waste, or I can just take the jar and put it in the freezer if there's enough room in the freezer. I don't like doing that. It's just my personality. My personality is, why did I just can all this food if I'm just gonna put it in the freezer? I'm trying to really get away from the freezer, especially right now. Right now, the sun is pretty limited. So in order to run a freezer overnight, when you put thawed out meat in the freezer, it runs for 3 days. Well, like today, it's pretty cloudy. During the wintertime, the days are shorter, so you're gonna have to run the generator. Now, what I do to run the generator is I put a quart of gasoline in it. I start it up about 9 o'clock and I let it run while I'm sleeping, and then it runs out of gas, and then the batteries take over. So I've even learned how to minimize the amount of gas I need to use in a generator overnight. I used to just run it all night long, fill it up and let it run, shut it off in the morning, but you know, that's almost a gallon of gas, whereas I can use a quart. So you're just constantly thinking, trying to improve. But if I don't have to use the freezer at all, and I can when it gets really cold, like teens and single digits, then we can go buy meat, freeze it outside, put it in the freezer, and I don't have to run the generator at all. So you're always thinking, so right now we're wanting to eat canned food. Well, while we're eating canned food, we're using up jars. That way we can refill the jars with chicken. And right now, like I said, $5.99, you can't beat that. So Carolyn gets an ad on Facebook about Save-A-Lot somehow or another. So she always knows when the sales are on. So we've paid, on this last batch was $8.99, so it came down $3. That's pretty good. When we did it, I overpacked the jars this time. Normally I can get 20 jars of chicken out of 3 bags. But I only got 13 this last time because I really packed the jars tight. I learned when I was canning the pork that I packed it really tight and all the jars sealed. So I did the same with the chicken. Got only 13 jars. That means I had 7 jars that were empty. I still needed to fill those jars with something, so there just wasn't empty space in the canner. You don't want the jars falling over. Of course, you can use water, but I just feel like that's a waste. Well, Carolyn hates wasting the broth. So you boil the chicken, and then that chicken water, it's broth. She loves the broth. We got so much broth it's running out of her ears. So she's starting to make things like soups and things. Chicken soup. When I say chicken soup, it's chicken and broth. That's our soup. Because somebody's going to say, I thought you were carnivores. Well, that is carnivore. I filled it up with pint jars. And I used Tadler lids. Now, the last time I used Tadler lids with broth, it failed miserably. But I used them with quarts. I feel like quarts make a difference for some reason. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of using quarts. I mean, it's just me and Carolyn. 2 pints of of food is all we need for a meal, so there's no reason to make quarts. So we've used metal lids ever since on the quarts. Now, that's 7 lids per can, or 14 lids per day, you know, that we're canning. So it's still a little bit of a cost. I'm not liking the cost. So I'm trying to learn if I can use Tattler lids with the broth, and we had success. As you can see, this is broth, and we use Tattler lids. So we had 7 jars. This is 6 up here. We had 7 jars with broth in it, and only 1 didn't seal. That, in my mind, is huge. All the chicken sealed, so all 13 jars of chicken sealed perfectly, and all but 1 broth. So we're making a lot of headway with this. Now, what I did notice with the broth is, for some reason, it's a little low. It should be right at that lip there, right where my finger is pointed, and it's a little low. I have learned if it's not to that lip, it's not going to seal consistently. Now, these other ones are low also. My guess is they're boiling out, which could be a problem. So what could have happened is, you see that there's a little bit of chicken in there, right? I'm sure you can see that chicken kind of floating around in there. When it boiled out, that chicken may have gotten in between the ring and the sealing surfaces of whatever, the lid or whatever it was. If that happened, then that wouldn't seal. What I try to do is I try to filter out that chicken chunks as much as possible. I usually use a colander, but I may end up getting something else. I think we have some like screen colanders, really fine screen. I think we have some of those. I might use those and see if that gives me a little bit better success rate, but 1 jar, that wasn't bad at all. And the thing is, the broth, it doesn't really matter if we use it or not. We can mix it in with the chicken food. The chickens love it. The cat loves it, so we can use it right away. Heck, you can just warm it up and drink it. It's pretty good. So, in my videos, I always talk about how people don't think I'm a man. I'm girly. The last time somebody called me girly. Wussy, except take out the W, put a P in. Because I can. They want me to use a smoker, or they want me to dehydrate. Now, dehydration, I would admit, is a good option. The problem with dehydration is you got to have vacuum seal bags. So you're really running up your costs, because vacuum seal is costly. Now, you can vacuum seal in jars. I've showed that before. But we can't use Tattler lids. We got to use metal lids, because Tattler lids break their seals. I have used metal lids to vacuum seal. It works okay, and we got a bunch of them, but you're not supposed to reuse metal lids, so I'm not too sure if I want to continue to do that if I got, you know, $100 worth of meat dehydrated sitting in jars. These things go through my mind. Is it worth the expense? But canning has always been worth the expense. And the thing is, it keeps the product fresh for so long. A couple of years, well, I don't know, it could be forever as far as I'm concerned. It's my understanding the only problem with canning is over a year, you start to lose flavors. But I've never noticed it. But that being said, I'm a YouTuber, so I'm just cautioning you, never keep food longer than a year. I don't care that I'm a wussy. The thing is the men of the world are always worried about SHTF. Stuff hits the fan. We're all got to worry about that. So they want me to figure out a way to do this during SHTF. Well, that's all right. I can just take the canner out onto the Carolyn's wood cook stove. She's got, you know, firewood cooker over there. Just set it over there. I mean, don't get me wrong. It would make for a long day because you're always feeding it with firewood. And you don't want to get it too hot. Otherwise, you might melt the canner. You could get a steel canner. That would work. So, but you could can outside. I just don't. Because it would just be a monotonous day. Whereas dehydration you could do, but again, you got to have a vacuum sealer. And if SHTF were to occur, where are you going to find the vacuum bags? And if you're going to smoke just doesn't preserve. Even the people on YouTube who do the smoking, to smoke your meat, shows that it can be dangerous. They say do it at your own risk, because you still have moisture in there, and moisture is the killer. We've tried to salt cure before, and it lasts about a month. Now, people in Alaska, I told you this in the last video about canning, they do smoke quite often. They're fishing different things, but you also got to think it's cold in Alaska. So there may be something too that just leave it out in the smoker in the wintertime and it freezes. All through the winter, I wouldn't even need to run the freezer. Quite honestly, if we could keep the temperatures in the teens, we wouldn't need the freezer at all. But then I got this last one. Everybody's got to tell me that I'm a man, not a man, because I'm canning. So they finally figured out one that, and I've talked about this in maybe last year, 2 years ago, that this would make you more of a man. Freeze dryers. Well, come on. Now you're just, you've crossed the line. Freeze dryers. First of all, freeze dryers cost anywhere from $2,000 to $6,000. They're hugely expensive. The thing that people seem to forget when they talk to me in the comment section is the title or the channel name, or what do you want to call it? The channel name. Little house. So I live in a little house, so I don't have a storage spot to hold a 300 or 400 pound piece of equipment. I have to put it out near the camper, which we didn't have until just recently. And then the second part of my channel name is off-grid. A freeze dryer is an electrical device. Now, I have 2 electrical devices that use as much electricity, well, maybe not even as much electricity, as a freeze dryer. My well pump is 800 watts. This coffee maker here that we use to warm up water for 15 minutes, that's all it takes, 15 minutes, is 900 watts. A freeze dryer is 990 watts to 1290 watts. Okay, so that's great. I'll run it for 15 minutes and then I'll shut it off. No, you got to run it anywhere from 24 to 36 hours to freeze dry chicken. So where am I going to get this kind of electricity? And I know what you're going to say, oh, just run the generator. Well, then you're running up your cost. 36 hours, it would take about 3 to 4 gallons of gas, roughly. So we're up to what, $9, $12, depending on how long I had to run it? Why would I want to do that? Now, the thing is I would have to run the bigger generator, which uses more gas than the little one. So I could run it on propane, or probably have to run it on propane. That way I don't have to, because what would happen is it would run out of gas sometime, and I'd have to go fill it back up. So I'm literally having to shut the machine off. I don't even know if you can do that, just to fill it up. So I'd have to run it on a full tank of propane, because the propane tank lasts 30 hours. It wouldn't even, I couldn't even run it on propane. I would have to have a bigger propane tank. I'm sitting here doing the math in my head while I'm talking to you. So it's physically impossible if the freeze dryer has to stay running the entire time. If you lose electric, I don't know what happens. I couldn't run it off the solar panels. Well, for one, you don't know if over the next 36 hours it's always going to be sunny. And of course, then you got the nighttime. Well, just get more batteries. I can hear it. Just get more batteries. Well, why would I want to get more batteries so I can run a freeze dryer? Or I can be a girl or a wussy, take out the W, put a P in, and just can. I don't know why it's so important that I got to show off my muscles and talk real loud, and I'm gonna, I mean, come on. So I'm going to continue to can. Like I said, we're going to get some chicken tomorrow. So maybe Tuesday we'll can some more. We also have 2, I think 20-pound turkeys in the freezer. I keep asking Carolyn if she wants me to can them, and she never gives me a direct answer. So I'm guessing that she's wanting to hang on to them for a while. She's not in a hurry. She even said, are you in a hurry? No, I'm not in a hurry. I'm just curious. Do you want me to can some? And she said, well, they got chicken at the store for 59 cents a pound. Okay, let's go get the chicken. This has actually been pretty fun doing it again since we got these Tattler lids working better. I always had a little bit of stress in the back of my mind that they were going to fail, but now we got them working. It's much better. So the temperatures have cooled off a bit, so we're back into the 30s and 40s. So we've started up the wood stove again today. Went about a week without it. That's pretty nice. Now, I don't know. You may be hearing Carolyn right now. See, I'm the girl. I guess she's the man because she's out there splitting firewood. Now, the reason she's splitting firewood is we have it all split and stacked. But when we split it and stacked and cut it, we had a different wood stove at the time. So we measured it to that wood stove. Well, then we got here, and it's just too big. First of all, the tiny house doesn't need much wood at all. You can just put a few sticks in it, and it lasts about 8 to 12 hours. So we both take turns at it. And here recently, I do a handful, and she does an armful, and she does an armful. And then we take it in the house and let it sit. That way, if it rains, it's not getting wet, give it a couple weeks, well, maybe a week to dry. So she splits it in smaller pieces for an hour or so, and then I do the same thing. But we're back to burning firewood, so it's really turning into the season. I used to hate winter. I really did, but the season is starting to grow on me. So as you can see, I had to do that entire video in the camper. I feel like I spend more time in the camper, so I just well move it down there. So if you click this up next video, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about the differences between I want to be mad at everybody and let's just live in peace. So I hope I can inspire you to be a wussy. Take out the W and put a P so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.